Life is sweet. Let it sweep you off your feet.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Allie with Find Your Joy, and I am thrilled today to be here with Adrienne Tichy. Adrienne, with her husband Jim, is a co-owner of the Lodge at Delray Beach. That is a recovery home in Florida, and I'm really excited. They have been saving and changing lives since 2008 with people who have been battling addictions and post-traumatic stress disorder and helping people find their way out of some really difficult situations. Welcome, Adrienne. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here, Allie.
Oh, I love it. It was you that had that little sign. I love the little sign,
I love
the
my
little thank you
signs.
sign. That's beautiful. Gratitude is everything, baby.
It sure is. And I'm an expressive person. So this was the only way to do it without being disruptive. You know, I have my signs and I can paddle everybody. I have the laughing one when I want to laugh, you know.
That's awesome. I am so going to be stealing that from you, or borrowing
absolutely.
it,
I tell everybody.
Starting the trend or joining the trend. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Adrienne has little signs that she holds up that have happy faces and thank you and cheers.
Well, you know, like in a studio audience, back for the old school people.
Yes.
Where they had applause.
Yes.
And then people went like, oh, it was a canned applause.
Yes, that's right. Now you have
Does anybody even remember those in-person things anymore?
I do. I even was a studio guest at a few talk shows and different things where they walked us through all that. The things that we thought were just naturally happening were happening with some coaching all the way along.
Yeah, right. You kind of get the magic of the camera burst.
Exactly. Isn't that life though? That's like you get the magic. You know what? If we go, there's me in the morning when I just wake up, not looking so great, and then there's me after I've had, you know, the shower, the blow dry, then put a little bit of makeup on. There we go. That's the magic of it all.
There's the magic. You don't want to know what's in between.
It's
the messy middle. The messy middle, I won't tell.
Very messy middle. You don't. There's what happened. That's the awakening, the PTSD, the whatever happened, and then there's the very messy middle. And then on the other side of it, people go, "Oh, I can't believe you've been through these things. You look so great." I'm like, "Yeah, because that really horrible messy part, you weren't there with me for that part."
That's right.
That
was all me. In fact, I remember. Yes, that was all me. Thank you.
That's right. Exactly.
Because your friends stop visiting you in the hospital room. You know, your family is about, they have to, they're obligated.
Oh, so tell me a little bit. Let's go back to this first. Tell me a little bit, please, if you would, about your the lodge at Delray Beach. How did that come to be? You've been doing that for what, 14 years now?
About 14 years. It will be 14 years in October. Well, I tell you, it all happened when I met this man whose name was Jim Tichy. I had moved to Florida as an adult, and I sold everything I had. And I moved to Florida as an adult because my mother's family is all from Florida. So summers I went to Key West, and I was raised by my great grandmother in the summers.
Wow. Okay.
And not a lot of people can say that, you know.
No, not a lot of people can say that. I will go into that. I mean, I could stop you and we could do 3 whole shows just on that. That's amazing. So
the family, in fact, I think for my healing journey, my family has been vital. My grandmother's been dead almost 12 years now. I write her every day for a year. I've been writing her every day.
Oh, wow. That's going to be, if you ever wanted it to be, an amazing book. But anyways, yeah.
You know what? I've got 5 journals that I've filled up, and I looked at my husband the other day. I stacked them up in a stack, and I looked at him and I said, I think there's a book in here.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
But
that's
in any event, that's my reason for being. We are a family first operation.
Yeah.
We heal families, not just the addict and alcoholic. Many families need some serious coaching themselves while their person is getting help, because they're just, talk about PTSD. They're burnt out. They've got vicarious trauma. They've got compassion fatigue, while their person is going through their own PTSD and trying to self-medicate with alcohol or drugs.
Exactly.
It's not a far stretch to wonder why people would want to self-medicate.
Exactly. And then, I think for a lot of people too, when their person goes into a recovery program, it can feel like it's just one more thing they're not a part of.
Absolutely. In fact, in those early days, we almost felt bad because we got to see a side of their children that they hardly ever get to see. Do you understand
Wow.
what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
Like
yes.
the gravity of that we were getting to see the good side of their children, and the parents, to be honest, some of them were jealous.
Of course. Well, how would you not be if you'd got, whether it's your husband, your wife, your brother, your son, your daughter, whoever that is, that you've longed to be close to them all this time, and now they're finally opening up and it's to someone else. That's, well, how would you not feel some, I don't know, jealousy or
Betrayal.
intimidation, betrayal, all those kinds of things, right? Because
Sure.
I get it. This is a family disease. This isn't one person, and that's just the person you see down there in addiction. It's impacts
Right.
everyone.
And this really is the coming together of two households, me, mine,
Wow.
and my husband's, right?
Yes.
I met him in church. We were not dating when the lodge was opened. We
Yes.
actually weren't even looking at each other for dating. I had met him at church and he was my best friend. But that's exactly why we weren't dating, is because if you're a female, you've had a male friend be interested in you and it wasn't reciprocal, right?
Yes, right, of course.
And there's no way to go back to that relationship afterwards.
Right.
So
Wow,
we didn't
yes.
want to risk losing this incredible friendship that we had built up and this incredible partnership in business. And one day we just looked at each other and went, oh my God, I think I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life with you.
Wow, so you started this business and you weren't even a couple yet.
No.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the plot thickens. I love it.
Isn't that right? And we didn't even sleep together.
Yeah, whisper it, because
Yeah,
God
because you
might
can
be
edit that
listening.
out.
Well, all the better, right? I mean,
Well, it was honestly, I have to tell you, Allie, it was probably the first time that I had a right match, because my picker before my husband was broken. God's picker is not broken, but mine, my husband's broken. We had to learn how to be in a relationship with each other before we could really take off as the lodge. We have had, at our height, we had 60 souls that Jim and I were responsible for. Now, of course, we have a staff, but ultimately it's us, right?
Right, absolutely.
And you have families that are at their person that has their pants on fire. They are executives or professionals that have been caught on their job, whisked off to a 2 weeks detox vacation. So he's going to come back to the office on Monday, or the hospital on Monday, and nobody's going to know that he wasn't on vacation.
Right. Okay.
And so we helped them through that first year. Really, it's one thing to recover. It's another thing to stay sober and to rejoin society as a sober person.
Right. And you're right, to rethink, to relearn your responses and reactions. And
Just when you think it couldn't happen to you, 2 days ago, a pilot was pulled off of a JetBlue airplane because he was 4 times the legal limit.
I read that, right? Yeah, I mean,
he had to be pulled off by the cops because they're that condescending and that egotistical. Who are you? I'm the pilot.
Right.
I had drinks last night. Get away from me. Yeah, but you're still blowing a 0.1.
Right. Right. And there are laws
driving
to cover
to a whole new level. Mothers of drunk drivers are going to have a field day with this.
Yes.
But
right. And I get it. There's laws in place for that with pilots, right? How many hours has to be between their last drink and when they work?
Yes, ma'am. They call it bottle to throttle. They call it bottle to throttle.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
They already have a program called Birds of a Feather for the pilots who get caught drinking and go to AA meetings. There's 109 contacts on their website. So I'm here to bring awareness that what happens in someone's life that's had a lot of trauma is that they become more susceptible to choosing drugs or alcohols as an escape,
Right. Right.
to self-medicate, to make those voices go away, to be able to sleep at night.
Yes. Yes.
And then the next thing they know, it's gotten out of control.
Right.
It just happened that fast. And it's happened for all of us, unfortunately, that fast with COVID. Has alcoholism, addiction, and overdose up 40%.
Right.
So we train people, 2% make it. 2% of the people who seek treatment for drugs and alcohol ever achieve long-lasting sobriety.
Wow, that's scary.
Sometimes
isn't
it's
it?
mostly 5 step forward, then fall back a couple, and then, you know, it spurts for a while. But if we stay with it like we do, and long term, we have seen successful NHL, NFL. We have seen autism spectrum kids. We have had 2 people on the spectrum. We have people from Indian reservations. We've had doctors, lawyers, people that they're trying to get their life back. They screwed it up.
Right.
And they know they screwed it up, and they know they got sober. They just got sober in 2 weeks. Now, how do they stay sober?
Right.
Because most people don't know how to stay sober once they got sober.
How to live.
Especially when you couldn't tell anybody that you're in the program. You have to
Right.
lie.
That's
at
a big
work.
one, isn't it?
Yeah. And so we really help them thrive in their new environment. Yes, you got caught, but the good news is we can help you. You can recover. And at the same time, we are dealing with those trauma incidents and helping them work through that in whatever way is best for them. Some people prefer emotional freedom technique, or some people prefer EMDR or talk therapy, or however they need. That's an outside issue for us.
Right.
But as far as the addiction goes, it's total abstinence. And then we teach you how to walk that out.
Wow. So that's amazing. So how does you had mentioned earlier that you help people process trauma, past traumas. So what does that look like within your program?
Well, we have groups of 6 people, and we have a licensed how do you say that? A licensed mental health counselor.
Oh, okay, great.
Who comes in twice a month, I'm sorry. And he speaks with both the boys and the girls about, we're talking about basic needs here, right? We have to go back and roll this back to like 4th grade. You have to be a sober, productive member of society. And you might know really well how to drive a plane. You might know really well how to cut me up and sew me back together, but you don't know a thing about staying sober.
Wow. Powerful.
And that, if they can get past that, because normally the ego that got them in those jobs to begin with, right? Because the type of person that would have to do this level of work, I mean, I can't imagine driving a plane with 200 people on it every day, back and forth, and not letting the gravity of that really sink into you, that now it's gotten so bad. We really have had to escape life so much that a pilot is 4 times the legal limit getting ready to drive the plane.
Right. Right.
It's
just the
society
denial.
Screaming out, help us.
Yes. Yes.
And we're here.
And I guess, you know, people, when someone is, people are not typically thinking, I can't cope with life, so I'm going to drink. They're thinking, I'm just going to have a drink. And by the way, everyone else is a bit of a jerk.
Yeah.
Right. That's how that works. Right?
And here's what it turned into, really. The liquor store was an essential business during the pandemic. Why?
Yes.
Do you know why? I'll tell you.
Okay.
Because if they stopped liquor, they would have people in the hospitals in withdrawal.
Right.
And they didn't have the beds. They needed the beds for COVID patients. It was a policy decision made on the highest levels.
Wow.
To keep the alcohol flowing, because hospitals would be overrun.
Wow. That makes sense.
It's it's the good news is that you can recover from addiction.
Yeah, and I'm just to be clear, I'm not saying it makes sense. Like I think, oh, that's a great decision. I'm just thinking, right. I understand where it could be, why it would make sense if I was looking at the larger picture and trying to figure out, I don't have enough beds, and this is going to create however much more. And then plus, well, I'd hate, sounds rather cynical, but there's also the tax dollars coming in from
The alcohol revenue.
the alcohol revenue. So there's many layers
Believe
of
me,
this, I'm sure.
Corona cashed in because
Right.
it was a coronavirus.
Oh, that
They made
the
Corona
beer.
commercials about the
Oh,
coronavirus.
did they really? Oh, I see. I didn't even. Okay, so here we go. I know that Corona is a beer. I hadn't seen a Corona commercial.
They made a play on it. It was hilarious. It's like, it's the coronavirus.
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh,
But all that
wow.
to say that recovery is possible and there is hope. You don't have to relapse, but it is frequently a reality that we deal with in recovery.
Right.
A lot of times, as we spoke before in the green room, it's 5 steps forward and a couple of steps back, and then you try something new and you really hone it. It's an individualized process.
Yeah. Wow.
And we found a way called Recovery Comes Home to bring that individualized process to you in the comfort of your own home, in the privacy of your own home. So you don't have to worry about you. We have a safe space. We're holding a
I love that name. Recovery. Say that. Could you say that one more time? The name?
Recovery Comes Home.
Recovery Comes Home. That's really wonderful, because how long now, you were talking about 2-week programs earlier. How long is your program?
Our program is 1 year.
Okay.
And it is done via Zoom. We are considering doing a hybrid now that things are opening up back again. Of course, we have had to pivot our business.
Oh my goodness,
like so many others have had to do.
Yes, yes.
We are going to the online space because that's where treatment is going.
Okay.
They are doing treatment by Zoom sometimes. And what doctors, lawyers, NFL players, NHL players, judges, attorneys, they don't have the time to go away for a year into one of our lodges.
Right. Okay.
But they do have the time because they need us. They don't know how to stay sober, and they're getting ready to lose their job, which means the kids will be gone, the wife will be gone, the cars will be gone, the boats will be gone.
Wow. So, okay. So I'm going to skip around a bit here. So let's just say pre-COVID or post-COVID. We're all hoping there'll be a post-COVID. Anyways, so pre-COVID, people came and lived in your lodges. And how long did they live there typically? Did they live there?
6 months. 6 months was the commitment, but a lot average stay is a year, and we still have 3 houses.
Okay.
Single beds, so we can only accommodate so many people.
Right.
But by September of this year, we really want to have only 10 people in the residences and be doing the coaching full time.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's a huge commitment for someone to make. What kind of I suppose if you're about to lose everything, then taking a 6-month sabbatical is the least of your worries at that point. You're about to lose. It probably at first seems like you're going to lose your job or your husband or wife or something like that. And that appears to be the most obvious thing that you're trying to avoid. And then once you are walking this path, you realize it's actually your life you're saving.
Right. But see, nobody's going to buy our program if I say we take a year and help you save your own life.
No. Right.
They're like, no. Look, you're drunk. You got caught. I can help you. The only questions that you need to ask is which account are we going to pay out of this from? Because it's too dangerous now to do it by yourself. We are having pilots pulled over for drunk driving.
Right. Like mind boggling, right? So a question. So I live in Canada, right? You're in the States. So now in Canada, some are government subsidized programs, some are not. I mean, so we have both here. So now in the United States, are some of the programs either paid by long-term medical or some sort of insurance? Are there ways that people can fund this? Because I'm guessing it's a costly venture. It is.
It
Most
is.
places. I mean, you're not just that you have to house people and feed them and to keep the lights on. You've got round the clock staff. I mean, that's huge. I mean, I can't imagine what that
We
costs.
do. It's quite a production, actually.
Yeah.
And that's why when we hit our max at 60 souls that we were taking care of, we really took a year and we scaled down to scale up, if that makes sense.
It makes beautiful sense, but maybe explain it for the listener.
Well, so we knew that we had to scale back to be able to provide the level of service that we were charging for.
Beautiful.
So what I will say about that, to answer your previous question, is in the US, it goes state by state.
Okay.
Some states do have some kind of assistance, some states don't. Florida does
Okay.
not, California does. It makes it for a very, very different recovery experience when it's, one or the other.
Right.
Because of that, we offer 10% of our beds on scholarship.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah. That's so for the people that can't afford it, it's an option that we've come up with that we fund
Wow.
through our business. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. And can people, so it's a business, not a nonprofit? Because all of these things in Canada anyways would matter in terms of where you could get funding from even. So
But remember, your health insurance is government. Ours is tied to our job. So it's a totally different model.
okay. Oh, so a person's place of employment, it might well be worth it to
Yes,
fund
it would
what this
definitely
person-
be worth it, because if you're
Right.
talking about C-suite level executives, professional hockey players,
Yes,
it
yes.
costs upwards of $300,000 to replace an executive.
Exactly. So
So
whatever
from
the
an
cost
HR
is, it's
standpoint,
minimal.
they look at detox res, which is what they will go to for 2 weeks.
Right.
It's about $20,000 to $30,000
Okay.
for 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's not it. We don't have anything to do with that. That's medical,
Right.
a medical detox.
And that is to sustain their bodies while they are actually detoxing because of the
Yes.
impact.
Because
Okay.
they could seize, because they could hurt themselves.
Right. Okay.
And so they need a medical detox, and then they're on a flight back to a job, and they show up,
Wow.
and the board of directors says it's one or done. You have one chance. The
One
medical
chance.
community says you have one chance.
Okay. And I just want to revisit that too, especially for people who are listening who might be looking at going towards recovery or their loved ones or something like that. So when you're talking about a person to 2 weeks, a medical detox, that's around that when a person is that heavily addicted to any drug, including alcohol, that they could have seizures. There's a medical impact to their body that requires trained professionals to oversee that. And then I'm imagining how sick that person could be during that. Don't let that scare you. Get well anyways.
Right. And nobody in this whole time, Allie, is saying, I'm not going to drink for the rest of my life.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes.
How is that even possible?
They're still trying to figure out their way back.
What am I going to do at functions, at employee functions that are held, and drinking is everywhere?
Yes.
We can help with that. Have a mocktail ready.
Yes. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you found a piece of your joy in this episode, I would love to hear about what came up for you so that we can continue to grow the impact of this show. Thanks again. See you soon. And remember, find your joy.